It fills my heart with joy unspeakable to rise in response to the warm and cordial welcome which you have given us. I will quote to you, brethren, a few lines from a hymn which is every day repeated by millions of human beings. As the different streams, having their sources in different places, all mingle their water in the sea, so, O Lord, the different paths which men take through different tendencies, various though they appear, crooked or straight, all lead to thee.
Welcome to this webinar hosted by the Heartfulness Institute, an affiliate organization of Shri Ramakrishna Mission. This is a very auspicious day, Swami Vivekananda Jayanti, the birth anniversary of this great soul according to the lunar calendar. Today is even more auspicious because, in line with Swami Vivekananda's vision, two great spiritual missions are working together in the service of humanity to present this event to you, the Ramakrishna Mission and Shri Ramchandra Mission. Today we will have two speakers, a representative from each organization. First, our host is the Global Guide of Heartfulness, Kamlesh Patel, also affectionately known as Daji. And our guest of honor for the event is Swami Shantatmananda, the Secretary of the Ramakrishna Mission in Delhi. So without further ado, please enjoy this webcast on the life and teachings of Swami Vivekananda.
Pranams everyone. It's such a joyful day, glorious day. We are all assembled here, all across the world, celebrating the great soul that walked on this planet, Swami Vivekananda. His name is in absolute synonymity with his Guru, Pujya Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa. As a child, I was greatly influenced by both the great personalities, more so by his Guru. Every page that I read, the Gospel of the Great Personality, it used to give me goosebumps. Often I used to cry and spend numerous nights in thinking, I wish I was in a position to meet Sri Paramahansa as well as Swami Vivekananda. What they left behind us is their vision, the great vision of unifying all the movements, all the spiritual movements. You have all heard how Ramakrishna Paramahansa experimented various religions and came to the conclusion that yes, they all are great. They promise something. We have to imbibe the essence of all the religions, which is same. Spirituality goes beyond religion though. All the wars that we face, see in the world, witness in this world, are because of religion. This indoctrination has taken us in a different direction. But today we will not be discussing all that. Today we are here to talk about how this vision of the great personalities can be realized in our lifetime. How all the younger sisters and brothers, friends, can come together and change the face of this planet. Let us not remain prejudiced. Let us not remain restricted, limited with our vision. Let us understand their vision better and try to make their vision our mission to accomplish and fulfill their dreams. What were their dreams? Everyone sees and appreciates others' ideas when it is in absolute sync with ours as an individual level. When we read a brief story how a young boy, Narendra, comes in contact with Paramahansa. A lot of arguments. Narendranath, he argues like nobody's business. And Ramakrishna Paramahansa simply tells him, would you like to experience? Knowledge will not help you. There is no end to acquiring this knowledge, but I can help you experience the divinity. Well, the story is he made him experience the ultimate in the very first session, and that initiation changed him and made him acquire this great name, Vivekananda. In the beginning, he had tremendous ideas, lots of ideas. And as he evolved, we all evolve. Evolution continues ad infinitum. His views, his talks, what he shared with the world in 1893 and what he shared with the world in 1899, they were quite different. Both Ramakrishna Paramahansa and Swami Vivekananda, one started with Kali Puja, second started in the worship of his own Guru. Both led a life of absolute brahmacharya, though Swami Ramakrishna Paramahansa was married to the great lady Sarada Devi. But their life, their relationship was such a pure, full of love towards each other, reverence towards each other. No one abusing the other person, given freedom like nobody's business. Nobody was pushed on to, oh, you are meditating all the time, or he would not say, your demands are such and such. They helped each other in reaching their final goal. Swamiji is also said to have changed his views, especially when Totapuri once meets Ramakrishna Paramahansa and says, what are you doing? You have to mend your ways and adopt something very special, dhyana. You meditate. He took a glass bottle and hits it on his forehead and said, now you meditate here. And that's how Ramakrishna Paramahansa changed his ritualistic worship and entered the field of spirituality. His life changed once and for all. It was through meditation. Swami Vivekananda also, a great giant of Jnana Yoga, great giant who followed Karma Yoga. And he said, both the yogas are useless unless and until we bring in Bhakti Yoga into it. This amalgamation of Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga is a superb combination promoted by Swami Vivekananda. Whatever life we choose, follow the heart. Once when I was discussing this particular episodes with my Guruji about brahmacharya, his view was that of Swami Vivekananda's view of 1899. He said, God was not a fool to create two sexes if one was enough. Only through Grihastha life one can learn how to love. Sannyasa can never teach you how to love another human being the way Grihastha life can teach. It is through love and love alone we can appreciate the amalgamation of bhakti into karma and Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga, they become both impotent without the use of Bhakti Yoga. So, dear friends, I wish you all meditate the way these great giants meditated and achieved something in the form of expansion of consciousness. It is the time that without bogging down with these religious connotations, religious bigotry, religious ignorance, we must rise above all this and love all. Let's come together, dropping our differences, whatever they may be, and meditate together for the better world. And this is how we can make the vision of these great visionaries come to be realized in our lifetime. Let us make it our mission and always remind ourselves, awake, arise, and let us not rest till the goal is achieved. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Swamiji, if you could help us, if you could share with us how his vision, how his teachings, how his practices, how his message to the world is still very relevant today. What we can do to bring this into the 21st century.
Om Namah Shri Etirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Sachit Sukha Swarupaya Swamine Tapaharane. Dear Elizabeth, Dr. Ishwaran, the assembled youth here, and the worldwide audience who will have an occasion to watch this a few days later. It's extremely relevant for all of us to think deeply about Swami Vivekananda and his message. One of his Western admirers, Sister Christine, begins her reminiscences of Swami Vivekananda this way. She writes, "At long intervals of time, a being finds this way to this planet who is undoubtedly a wanderer from a different sphere, who brings along with him to this sorrowful world some of the glory, power, and the radiance of the far distant region from which he came. He walks among men, but he is not at home here. He is a wanderer, a pilgrim. He tarries but a night. Blessed is the country in which he was born. Blessed are they who lived on this earth at the same time. And blessed, thrice blessed, are the few who sat at his feet." I don't think we can give a better description about Swamiji's personality than this. One of the greatest difficulties in understanding Swami Vivekananda is the fact that he lived several centuries ahead of his time. Even now, we are really way below in terms of the proper understanding of his relevance. He somehow could think so far ahead, and he was so dynamic, extraordinary, and he could cover several spheres, so to say. Now we know to understand Swamiji's relevance to the times, to this day, in our country as well as in the globe, in a global sense, probably a brief look at his own life, how it unfolded, would probably help us. In a sense, we can broadly divide his life into two segments. One is from the time he was born, his growth, then up to the time he was in the West. The rest few years, that was from the year 1863 to 1897 beginning. The rest 5 years which he spent largely in India, although he went to the West once again, that really brings forth a completely different dimension of Swami Vivekananda's personality. Many of you might have read his biography, and it's clearly mentioned that he was a born yogi, a great adept in meditation right from his very birth. His guru, Sri Ramakrishna, in the first or second time when he met him, asked him about the peculiar way in which Swami Vivekananda used to go to sleep. He said, a small speck of light would appear between the eyebrows of the young Naren. It should slowly become bigger and bigger into a huge white ball of light, and which would completely cover his entire body, and he would just bask in that light and go to sleep. That's how it used to happen. He thought this was very natural with all children. Only when his master, Sri Ramakrishna, asked him, then he understood that it was something very special. Not only that, he came to his guru, Sri Ramakrishna, to seek God, to find out whether there was anything called God, could people experience Him, and to verify the truth about this phenomenon. But then slowly, during his struggle, during his tutelage under Sri Ramakrishna, he learned many things. Even then, his predilection was again and again towards diving deep into meditation. Because Sri Ramakrishna asked him, "What do you really want? Tell me." The young Narendranath answered, "I want to dive deep into Samadhi, and then now and then come out, have a morsel of food for the maintenance of the body, and then again dive deep into Samadhi." That's what he answered. But Sri Ramakrishna was not satisfied. He really scolded him. "What a narrow-minded person you are. I thought you would become a huge banyan tree, under the shades of which thousands of scorched souls would take shelter. You are thinking about your own mukti or liberation. Don't you sing that song, Jo kuch hai, so tu hi hai? Whatever you see is God. Why do you want to see God with closed eyes? Why don't you see Him with eyes open?" It was as if this is what Sri Ramakrishna was pointing out. But then still the struggle continued. Even after Sri Ramakrishna's Mahasamadhi, or giving up the mortal frame, during his wanderings, he made several attempts to get back this experience. Every time he was somehow or other thwarted, quite often by a vision of Sri Ramakrishna, which was so profound and so striking that he couldn't go ahead with his resolve. Finally, he slowly understood that his life was meant to be different. In fact, one day in the room of Sri Ramakrishna at Dakshineshwar, Sri Ramakrishna was talking about the three basic tenets of Vaishnava Dharma, namely, taste for the Lord's name. That was the first one. And then, second, compassion to the jivas or living beings. And finally, service to the Vaishnavas. So Sri Ramakrishna first mentioned the first tenet. And then when he mentioned compassion to the jivas or living beings, he went into a transcendental state called Samadhi. And when he came down, he said, "What? Jiva showing compassion to another? You are as low as a worm. How can you show compassion to another?" It is not compassion, but service of God in man. Shiv Gyan se Jeev Sheva. Looking upon man as God and serving him, that is the right attitude. Many were present in the room that day, including Narendranath, who said that today I have heard something new. Should God give me an opportunity, I will establish this before the entire world. So his journey continued, and then his wanderings brought him to the southernmost tip of India, that is Kanyakumari. He saw a huge raging ocean in front of him, and at a far distance a huge rock. He was tempted to go there, but he didn't have money to pay the boatman. So he swam across the shark-infested waters, reached the rock, and sat in meditation for 3 days and 3 nights. What exactly transpired there is not very clearly revealed, but we get glimpses of it here and there. There he clearly saw a blueprint before his eyes. What was his purpose for advent on earth? What was he to do for his country? How was the road ahead? And how this can be achieved? Who others will be the partners or players in this game? How he could give lead to this movement of regenerating India, and so on and so forth. Many ideas became very clear to him, and only after that he went to the Parliament of Religions. The normal reason that is stated everywhere is to represent Hinduism, but although he represented Hinduism, he was very clear that he would exchange the spiritual wealth of India to bring material wealth to serve the masses. Because during his wanderings in India, he went through the length and breadth of this country on foot. He was appalled by the poverty, the misery, the ignorance, the lack of education, and other problems the country, the masses were facing. He saw that they were deeply rooted in a spiritual culture, but in terms of existential life, in terms of conveniences of life, they were really in a horrible condition. So he knew that something had to be done about it, and these were the ideas that were really working in his mind. Then, as we know, he went to the West. He represented India at the Parliament of Religions. He was an enormous, huge success. He became the most successful representative at the Parliament of Religions. He was lionized everywhere, but then he could never forget the motherland even for a moment. Perhaps a day or two after his famous inaugural address at the Parliament, when he became a celebrity by the words "Sisters and Brothers of America," he was invited as a guest to a very wealthy home. They had given him a very comfortable room and a very, very comfortable bed, but he just lay on the floor and wept throughout the night, thinking about his poor countrymen back home. He was thinking that there is so much of affluence in this country, but my countrymen are really weeping just for a morsel of food. When will this condition improve? When will they become better? That was the thought dominating his mind, and he was just rolling on the floor, weeping the whole night. Almost after 4 years, after a very successful tenure in the West, he came back to India. And one of the first things he did was to establish the Ramakrishna Mission on the 1st of May 1897. The motto that he set before the mission kind of sums up the second half of his life. Namely, I said, from the return to the West till his giving up his body in meditation in the year 1902, he placed before the mission two ideals, rather a twin ideal, namely Atmano Mokshartham Jagat Hitayacha. Spiritual welfare, spiritual evolution of the individual, and at the same time, welfare of the mankind. That were the two ideals he placed before the mission. So, we all know he lectured right from the day he landed in India, that is in Colombo, and he went up to Almora, They have come out in a very famous collection of lectures titled Lectures from Colombo to Almora. Largely, in the second part of his life journey, he mostly concentrated on his plan of regenerating his motherland, namely India. In this task, he really had tremendous hope in the youth of India. Many of his lectures, some of his most powerful utterances and lectures, they were all delivered to youth audiences. Again and again he exhorted them. What is the idea? What are you talking about? The glory of Vedas and Vedanta. People are dying of hunger and thirst. They are living in such abysmal depths of poverty, illiteracy and so on. What is there to flaunt about? He said, don't do all that. Go, work unto death. As long as I am there, I am with you. And when I am gone, my spirit will inspire you. These were some of the things he talked about. He again and again said, my workers would come from the youth. Like a lion, they would work out my ideas. He said, youth is the time. This is the time you must. He said, I want 1,000 young men and women. That was his target. He said, I want real people, extraordinary humans, and not brutes. He said that you have done so much for yourself. So many lives have gone by. Why don't you spend one more life in the service of others? So, it was an unbelievable kind of a makeover or a change in the personality of a person who was day and night thinking about God realization, samadhi, deep meditation, and exhorting everyone to give up everything, including one's own quest for mukti or liberation, and work for the liberation of India in particular and mankind in general. He said that vigorous youth, tremendous, powerful, were aware of their innate divinity, their own extraordinary power. They would go throughout the length and breadth of India, and not only that, all over the world, awakening them, bringing to them the eternal message of Vedanta. But for India, he clearly said that the most important need was to remove this poverty, illiteracy, and so on. He clearly asked, my would-be reformers, my would-be patriots, feel for others. Do you feel that millions and millions of the descendants of gods and goddesses have become next-door neighbors to brutes? Do you feel that millions have died of hunger and millions are dying? Does it make you restless? Does it make you sleepless? And he goes on and on and on. And he says, this is the first step to become a true patriot. Not only that, it's not enough if you have just feeling. Do you have any plan? Do you have ideas? That's the second step. And finally, even if the entire world, your family, your relatives, friends, if all of them are one side and you are on the other side, do you still have the courage to carry out whatever you have planned? Then you are a true patriot. Your blood would really boil if you really go through his words. Sometimes I really wonder, how is it that our countrymen, let alone the entire globe, our countrymen, why are they not reading him, taking to him more seriously? Because he has given every prescription. He does not say that you cannot work for individual glory or greatness. He only says that expand yourself. Do good for yourself, but you can do much, much more than that. Just stretch yourself a little more. You can be of immense help to the entire humanity. This is the kind of, refrain. This is the type of language he talks about. He says, just don't aim for, those days, it was a fashion to become a clerk in a government office or some lawyer and so on. He comes down heavily. What is the value of a degree? After struggling, every other fellow, you would come out with a degree. Is there not enough waters in the Indian Ocean to drown you? Degrees, gown and all? That's what he is, that is the type of language. He really comes down heavily because he says, A country with so much of power, so much of possibilities, with such rich heritage. Our Upanishads, our Vedas, he says every word of the Upanishad, it talks about abhi, fearlessness. Wherefrom has this fear of everything, this inability to go forward, the inability to think bigger, the inability to tackle the problems of the society head on? Why all these are lacking? That's why you would say again and again, give up this idea, give up this nibbling at things. It's a very beautiful language, he says. Give up this nibbling. Take up one idea. Make that your life. Let that idea, you think of it, dream of it, live that one idea. Your brain, your nerves, everything be completely permeated by that one idea and leave everything aside. And he says, this is the way to success. Every year, on the 12th of January, which is the calendar birthday, we observe the National Youth Day. Functions are held all over the country. Again and again, we talk about Swami Vivekananda from platform. Again, close to that day also is his Jayanti, or according to the Indian almanac, Hindu almanac, we observe the Tithi Puja. But then, it is time we really galvanize ourselves into action. Merely, quoting him platforms, again and again talking about just only his philosophy, his words. Probably, I think we should go further ahead and really get down to real action. Of course, in our own humble way, because Swami Vivekananda was very clear, education is the panacea for all evils. He saw that the reason for so much of poverty, illiteracy and so on in our country was the lack of education. But he did not want just the Western type of education. He wanted a different type of education. He talked about character building, man-making education. Again, it's a very huge topic. But then, we from the Ramakrishna Mission, Delhi, we have launched a Awakened Citizen program, whereby over a period of 3 years, we are trying to infuse into children, essentially studying in classes 7, 8, 9, their own powers, their abilities, self-belief, giving them the immense strength in their own abilities, so that all of them can really become truly awakened citizens and work not only for their own glory and growth, but also for the welfare of the country. Because unless such young minds are influenced and really made to adopt a different attitude, ideal towards the nation, probably it's too late to influence anyone when they are old, beyond a certain age. So that is what we are trying. We are already working with 1,700 schools in about 8 or 9 states in this country. Probably, with the help of Heartfulness Center, we may be able to expand it further. So, the second part I said was largely devoted to his address to the youth of our country and others for regeneration of our motherland. But then, in the earlier part, particularly in the West, he spoke again and again everywhere. He did not even speak much about his own master, Sri Ramakrishna. There were hardly a couple or 3 lectures which he gave. Largely, he talked about the universal message of Vedanta. And that is what really appealed to the Western mind. If you talk in terms of global audience, apart from his message about the harmony of religions, which he largely focused at the Parliament of Religions, after that, most of his lectures were on the essential ideas of Vedanta, namely the idea that you are the Atman, you are the infinite, all power, glory, knowledge, light, everything is within you. Assert that and become free. This he, gave in a kind of a extraordinary statement when he said, each soul is potentially divine. The goal is to manifest this divinity. Do this either by work, worship, philosophy, psychic control, by one or more or all of these, and this is the whole of religion. Doctrines and dogmas, books and temples and rituals are but secondary details. That's what he said. I think, his message to the West and to the humanity in general is largely, inscripted in this small statement of his, where he talks about the extraordinary nature of each and every one of us. So it has been so nice talking to all of you, and probably through the courtesy of this Heartfulness Foundation to the audience all over the world. Probably the entire humanity can benefit in an extraordinary way if they really go through the message of Swami Vivekananda. Because the huge ocean of the Vedic literature, the truths of Vedanta, strewn across maybe thousands and thousands of pages, he has beautifully condensed and given in a form which is most easily understood by everyone, particularly the English-speaking Western audience. I think to that extent, the West is deeply indebted to him. And somewhere he said, just as Buddha had a message for the East, I have a message for the West. Thank you very much.
Welcome back, and thank you to both Daji and Swami Shantatmananda for such wonderful, inspiring talks on the life and teachings of Swami Vivekananda. Heartfulness Institute welcomes you to experience meditation through any of our centers worldwide. Please visit www.heartfulness.org. Thank you and have a wonderful day.